Hi, and welcome to the podcast, Use Your Powers for Good. I'm your host, Carolyn Moselle, and I am so glad that you are here. This podcast is to inspire leaders, managers, and supervisors to use their powers for good to put more kindness into the world. As leaders, it's important for us to find ways to reduce stress, find balance, and create a positive workplace culture. Our guests are here to help you improve those tools and help you to get additional tools in your toolbox so that you can put more kindness in the world through your leadership. Today's guest is Nicole Guena. She is a certified integrative nutrition health coach. She empowers women and men who are listening to detox their body and take more control of their health. She is going to talk to us today about how detoxing can improve focus, energy, and our moods. These are some real important things as leaders that we should have in check before we go and try to lead other people. So, Nicole, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. And so, I want to start off by asking you what made you become a certified integrative nutrition health coach?
Well, thank you for that intro. I'm so excited to be here, and I know that title is a mouthful.
Yeah.
So, the reason that I decided to become a health coach is because my life looks a lot different right now than it did about a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
Starting probably 3 years ago, I started dealing with some symptoms. Basically, previous to that, I was always someone who was always on the go, had like tons of energy. So I work in fashion, I live in New York City, and I would wake up at 5 a.m., be at a 6 a.m. soul cycle class, work, head straight to work a 12-hour day, go to dinner and drinks with friends, and like do it all again the next day. No problem. And all of a sudden, when I was around when I turned 30, and I was like super dramatic about turning 30, attributed so many things to that, I just felt like I kind of hit a wall. I
Mhm.
was having a really hard time waking up in the morning, having a hard time getting through that soul cycle class. And at work, I was just having a really hard time focusing. I work in fashion, which obviously there's some fun parts, but a lot
Mhm.
of it is spreadsheets. And by like 2, 3 p.m., I would be like, I just feel cross eyed. I can't even look at this anymore. And that was obviously a problem because previously I was working till like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
So I was just drinking multiple cups of coffee, just dragging through my day. I was noticing a difference in my skin. My hair was feeling super thin. I was like freaking out about that.
Right.
And kind of the big driver for me was my weight.
Mhm.
So I had always been someone that watched my weight, had done dieting here and there. And then once I hit my 30s, I was like doing every fad diet under the sun.
Mhm.
Nothing ever seemed to work. It was like, it felt like every year I was gaining a couple more pounds and I just had no control over it. And it was making me crazy.
So
So,
you became a real grown up.
yes, basically. So true. My mom's friend had been to this naturopathic doctor, and she had said that he'd run some tests and a food intolerance test and had told her really specific foods to stay away from. And I was like, great, perfect. This is what I
Mhm.
need. I'll just go get this test. And it literally doesn't even matter what this guy says. If it'll work, I'll do it.
Right.
So I go to this appointment, and the doctor just looks at me and he goes, how long have you been exhausted? And I almost like burst into tears because it's just like it comes on so gradually that it almost feels normal. And
Mm.
I hadn't really fully understood how much had changed, how much I really was dragging through my day and not feeling like myself.
Mhm.
So he ran a bunch of tests that day, did the food intolerance test, and when I went back for my follow-up appointment, he pulls out the sheet of paper and it's all of these toxins, like heavy metal
Mhm.
toxins,
Mhm.
mercury, cadmium, lead, aluminum, and basically like my body was technically 100% toxic. And
Wow.
I was like, what does that mean? Like,
Right. Doesn't
where are
sound
they?
good.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was explaining that the reason that I have been having the symptoms that I was, like the brain fog and the low energy, is because all of the impact that those toxins were having on my body was creating those symptoms.
Mm.
And not to mention, all of those toxins were also blocking my cells from absorbing nutrients. So I
Right.
was also nutrient deficient. So I was like, I couldn't believe it. Mind blown. It wasn't at all what I expected to get from that appointment.
Right,
I
right.
got the food intolerance that like wasn't even close to the most important thing that came out of it. And when I said to the doctor, like how, why, like where did these
Mhm.
toxins come from? He like didn't really have an answer or a solution. It was just like,
Right.
here's a supplement regimen to detox. And I was like, well, I definitely want more information than that. So
Right.
basically, the next few months, I did so much research and came to understand how toxins are in so many parts of our lives, whether it's from air pollution or the water we drink, the foods we eat, the products that we put on our skin. And I
Mhm.
made a lot of changes. And basically, within a couple months, I had lost all the weight and then some. I was like back to a weight I'd been in high school. It wasn't even a weight I had thought
Wow.
I'd ever be again. And
I
not
gave up
feeling
those
like,
clothes 5 years ago, by the
yeah,
way.
and not even like expecting that. Like that wasn't
Mhm.
even a driver anymore. It was like, I need to get healthy. And the brain fog was completely gone. My energy was back. I'm now completely off caffeine. That took some time. That probably
Mhm.
took like 6-ish months, and I weaned myself off that. But like, I just feel like a completely different person. My hair is back to normal. My
Mhm.
nails feel great. Like, it's just such a world of difference. And I couldn't believe that I didn't know any of this, and that really no one that I was telling this story to knew any of it either.
Mhm.
And that's why I decided to become a health coach, because everybody needs to learn this information. It's just so valuable. It makes such a difference in literally every part of our lives, and
Mhm.
it's not even that challenging to do.
Right,
So that's
right.
why I decided to become a health coach.
So you mentioned, usually when you think about detoxing, you think about, or when you think about making some kind of shift like that to feel better, you think more along your diet. But you talk about like there are all types of things within that we just regularly use in our lives, that have toxins in them. Can you just, other than food, can you share like some things that we just would not think had toxins?
Of course. Definitely beauty products are a huge part of it. So there are 80,000 chemicals that are basically largely untested right now in the
Mhm.
US. The FDA has only outlawed, I believe it's 10 chemicals, whereas the EU has banned 1,000 based on the way that they impact our normal hormonal function,
Mhm.
allergies, and just like our overall health. So basically, there's all of these chemicals.
Mhm.
And on any given day, the average woman uses 12 to 15 beauty products, and they have 168 different ingredients in them.
Wow.
Lots of them are harmful, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So, for example, like parabens are something that are really commonly in beauty products. And they basically act as a xenoestrogen in our body, which is like it mimics estrogen. And
Mm.
therefore, it creates estrogen dominance, which can lead to all kinds of things like estrogen dominant cancers, like breast cancer,
Mhm.
and many other things like that. So that's just like one really specific example. But unfortunately, like a lot of the big brands that you think of, like a Chanel, like
Mhm.
there's parabens in that makeup.
Mhm. So the word parabens is one word that we could, or one ingredient that we could look out for, especially as it relates to makeup. So are parabens just in makeup, or do we find them in like lotions or anything like
Yep.
that?
Lotion, skincare. And the thing that's hard about parabens is that it's become something that people are more and more aware of.
Mhm.
So fragrance is one of the big ingredients to look out for on a label,
Mhm.
because basically there is a law that says that a company can list their fragrance just as fragrance without disclosing what is made up of that fragrance,
Mhm.
because it's
Mhm.
considered like a trade secret. So basically saying that like it's their kind of like copyrighted
Right.
information, they don't need to divulge it. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, there's a lot of harmful ingredients that are hiding in that term of fragrance. So even if you're looking for paraben on a label,
Mhm.
it could still be hiding under fragrance.
Okay.
So if you pick up a product and it has fragrance in it, you want to look out for call outs that say paraben free.
Mhm. And lately, I've been seeing like natural deodorant. So I'm thinking deodorant must have had a lot of ingredients or a big ingredient in it that was toxic.
Yep.
I was a little suspect of that because you grow up on, for me, Ban.
Hmm.
I've used that all my life. So and it works. And so, the thought of going to something natural for something like a deodorant, I think I would have to, well, this is a good time to try while we're working at home, I guess.
Totally.
So,
And I highly recommend that. So
mhm,
aluminum is the
mhm,
big thing that's in most deodorants that is
mhm,
harmful. The
mhm,
other thing is that most deodorants are antiperspirants, which means that they prevent us from sweating, which
mhm,
is not a good thing. Sweating
mhm.
is natural. Sweating is a version of detoxing. It's our skin's way of releasing toxins. So we don't really
Uh-huh.
want to like plug that up. So I also recommend deodorant being one of the first things that you switch out because all of our skin is different in terms of the way it absorbs what we put on it. But generally speaking, if you put something on your body, it's going in your body.
Right,
So
right.
that is going to all affect the way that your body functions. And your underarm skin is basically absorbing 100% of what you put on it. So
Wow.
when I'm kind of helping people to make these transitions, I always
Mhm.
say that deodorant is like number one. It's deodorant and lipsticks because obviously you're like half eating your lipstick.
Right, right. Okay. No, that's very interesting because I knew I never really just investigated, the big deal about deodorant, but I have been noticing, over the last maybe I've noticed over the last maybe 2 years that there have been some I, coming across my path has been like the natural deodorant, some natural deodorant products. So I was thinking, well, something must be going on with deodorant that I'm not. And then you kind of don't want to know because then you feel like you need to make the change. But education is power. I'll
That's what I
say
will
that,
say.
and it's usually not as bad as we think it is. That's the whole thing because then if we could go back to or go to diet for a moment, just for the listeners, I participated in well, I'm participated in one program and that's completed, and then I'm in another program that Nicole has is running, and the first one was Slay the Holidays, which you know really help me to understand like how to manage through the holidays and not to give myself some grace. Nicole was great. She did not like make me um insist that we had to like not have fun or not enjoy some things. We had this whole apple pie thing that I had to resolve because my husband makes like the meanest apple pie ever. And I could not, I had to figure out how to like either manage my intake of that or, to give myself some grace if I had one slice too many. But, next year we're going to figure out how to make it a little bit more healthier because after all, there are apples in it. So I'm leaning really heavy on that piece that I'm
There you
getting
go.
my fruit.
There you go.
So if you could talk a little bit about like some ways to detox your diet or some things in your diet that we should be aware of.
Sure. So diet is definitely a huge part of detoxing, and it's always the number one place that I start. That's why I Slay the Holidays. We focused on that. It's when you're really going to see the biggest difference as quickly as possible. So basically, when we talk about just detoxing in general, it's a two-pronged process. So
Mhm,
it's limiting your toxin exposure and it's promoting your body's natural detoxification
mhm,
system. So basically, what we're saying is we want to consume as little toxins as possible, but with the understanding that there's always going to be some, it's impossible to avoid them entirely. And
right.
our body is always in the natural process of detoxing. So we just want to support that as much as we can.
Mhm,
So, some top tips in terms of avoiding toxins from a diet perspective would be choosing organic as much as possible. So, there are about 1 billion pounds of pesticides that are sprayed on our food sources every year, which is excessive. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so the Environmental Working Group puts out a list every year of the dirty dozen, which are the foods that have the highest pesticide content when they are non-organic
Mhm,
or conventionally grown, and then the clean 15, which have the least. So this is great because obviously I say buy organic as much as you possibly can, but it's
mhm,
not always available wherever you may be shopping. So if you can kind of focus on those dirty dozen, which is mostly like spinach and different kinds of lettuces like kale, and then porous fruits like um, strawberries. I believe blueberries are on there. So when you refer to that list, that's just a great place to start. But you definitely want to be choosing organic as much as possible, especially the foods that you eat the most.
And,
Go ahead, Carolyn.
and for those who eat meat, I think there's a way to do that better as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
So meat is definitely super, super important to make sure that you're eating organic as much as possible. When foods or meat is factory farmed, it can be kind of like jam packed with different antibiotics. Basically, the animals are kept in really unsanitary conditions. In order to keep them from not getting sick, they're given tons of antibiotics. They're also given synthetic growth hormones. They're given GMO corn feed, just all
Mhm.
kinds of things that you don't want to be consuming yourself. And then when you're consuming the animal, you're obviously consuming them in some
Right.
extent. The other thing about animal products is that just like us, and how my body was 100% toxic when I got that test result, and I was eating relatively healthy previous to that. If you're eating an animal that's being fed feed that has a ton of pesticides in it, shot up with all these different hormones and things, living in an environment that is toxic, chances are that that animal also has a lot of toxicness in its body, and you're consuming
Mhm.
those things as well. So looking for grass-fed, organic, or organic really is kind of like the catch-all label that everything else is good in
Mhm.
terms of that the animal is even treated mostly humanely. They're allowed to be outside in natural sunlight, all of those things. So looking for an organic label when you're buying animal products
Mhm.
is really, really important. And
And for
another tip of mine is cutting back.
yes, and for seafood, the wild caught is best, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. No, this is good to know because I think like by going through your program, I have been able to kind of convert my cabinet into some, some healthier choices and cleaner choices, as well as, when I shop now, even got my husband to kind of latch onto this. We shop a lot of organics,
Great.
so that we can, we are making better choices. So you have had an impact. So I will
Great.
say that. I now
Well,
use um, the coffee, Sigmatic,
or
Sig,
Sigmatic.
Sigmatic, and now I put I use raw agave now for my sweetener or maple syrup. Now, when you told me maple syrup and coffee, I was totally not feeling that, Nicole. All I could see is maple syrup belongs on pancakes, French toast, and waffles. So when
Mhm.
you said maple syrup in coffee, I was like, okay, I don't know about that. But I tried it and it was fine. A sweetener is a sweetener, I guess,
Totally.
and so so for those who have heard Nicole say, heard me say, maple syrup and coffee, it's better than sugar, because sugar is processed. And even I was using, and I thought I was doing better, using Truvia. And then, I had purchased this really large box because, I thought that was a really good thing to do. And then after, going through Nicole's program, she was like, no, that's not on the list. Or it's on the bad list.
Exactly.
So it's, I do feel a difference. I feel lighter. I feel, I just, your belly just feels better. I guess that's the best way for me to explain it. So her program does have an impact. So can you share, like, leaders are really, I know that when I was in leadership with the city government, I was really exhausted all the time. And, I really had to be intentional about making sure that I poured into myself so that I can pour into others. And I'm sure that there are leaders who are listening who find themselves in that position all the time. You feel sometimes you just don't feel like it. But you are there to lead and direct and guide, and people are relying on you. So are there some things that leaders can do to kind of help find some balance in managing their exhaustion and burnout?
Definitely. So when it comes to toxins, they can definitely affect our energy levels. So one of the things that toxins can create in our body is oxidative stress. And the result of that is low energy, fatigue, all of those emotions that you were just talking about. It also disrupts our hormonal function, which I'm sure we all know our hormones affect literally everything from our moods to our weight, our energy, our fertility. And then toxins also affect our gut. So, different things that are toxic for our gut, like some things that I'll say we can address, which are processed foods, red meat, and sugar, can cause gut disruption. And what that does is it doesn't just disrupt like our digestion, but our gut is actually referred to as our second brain. It's connected by the vagus nerve. And basically, neurotransmitters such as serotonin, which we all think of as our happy chemical, dopamine, which is our feel good chemical, and GABA, which is like our calming chemical, are all built within our gut. And that, of course, gets signaled to our brain. And when that signaling and the production of those different neurotransmitters is off, then obviously it can cause depression, anxiety, exhaustion, and all of those things. So it can really impact our mood. So a big thing that we can do is to care for our guts. So my biggest tip there, and really for detoxing overall, and just a big tip in general, is processed foods and sugar are not our friends. So not all packaged foods are necessarily processed, but a lot of them are. And when you look at an ingredient label and there's tons of chemicalized ingredients that you can't pronounce, that's a bad sign. Another thing to definitely look for is grams of added sugar. So the average American is having 77 grams of added sugar a day, and that's
Wow.
3 times more than the recommended amount. So it's lurking in things that you would never even think, things that aren't sweet. Tomato sauce. My boyfriend buys this pad thai. It's got 26 grams of added sugar in pad thai.
Wow.
It makes no sense. So it's hiding in so many things. So it's really important to look at those ingredient labels, and you don't want to be having in any single sitting more than 10 grams of added sugar. And when I say sitting, it's because lots of times if you look at like a can of Coke, there's 2 servings in there. So you got to multiply those grams of sugar by 2. Don't just look at it and, no one's having half a Coke, and no one should be having Coke at all. Number 1 tip.
Not even diet?
No, diet is worse. So the fake sugars are even worse. So basically what the fake sugars do is they are super sweet, lots of times even sweeter than sugar. So they're signaling to our brain that there's supposed to be some kind of calories that we're also consuming along with them. So when there's not, we feel like we need more because we're not being satiated by the actual like calorie content. So it basically creates even more of an addiction and kind of completely throws off our body's ability to understand when it's hungry or when it's full.
Wow.
So, yeah, if you're gonna have it, go for the real thing at least.
Right. If you're gonna go out like that, go out with the real thing, real sugar,
Exactly.
and not,
Don't
just
beat
kind of
yourself up.
faking out your body and your brain and your gut. And yeah, okay. Yeah, that
And a
makes
lot of
sense.
those chemicalized ingredients are doing that too. They're
hmm
messing with our hormonal signaling, and
hmm
that's why they have even a bigger impact than the calorie count that's on them. That's really not the most important thing on an ingredient label.
hmm
It's pretty much everything else that we should be paying more attention to. So
Wow.
when you are cutting back on things like that, you'll notice how your energy levels will completely change. I think that's like one of the number one things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's hopefully, I'm glad this is a podcast where you can go back and listen and take some notes, because I think you've given some really good gems that people can, start to think about as they want to become more healthier. So you've said a lot. We can't wear makeup. We're off of coffee. No diet, no Coca-Cola whatsoever. We have to go and make sure that the meat is living in a condo and has some grass around the property so that we know how they're being fed.
That's it. It's super simple.
So it's
Super.
super simple. But with all that being said, can you give our listeners just some things they can do to just get started on making a shift to becoming healthier and detoxing their body?
Of course. So just as a follow-up to that, obviously, we know that Carolyn was kidding, but
Yes.
everything, like all the tips that I share,
Mhm,
it's all about finding a balance between all of
mhm,
the things. There's so many different things. There's so many things that I could be sharing right now, so many things that impact our health. And you kind of have to strike the balance between the things that you know aren't so good for you, but you absolutely love them. Like for me, it's wine. Obviously, alcohol is
Right.
not good for us, but I still indulge in that. So it's all about just kind of learning all the information that you can so you can make those decisions.
Mhm.
So, in terms of super simple things that are really have a big impact, number one is water, being hydrated. It sounds so simple, but 70% of Americans are dehydrated. So you want to make sure that you're having at least 8 cups of water a day, more if you're active and sweating or if you're drinking alcohol, because that's dehydrating. And my favorite tip within that is to start your day off with hot water with lemon. It kickstarts your digestion in the morning. It kickstarts detox. It's super cleansing. It has vitamin C, which is great for collagen production, great for our skin. So that is the perfect way to kind of kickstart your day and get some water in right away. And then you just want to make sure you're continuously drinking throughout the day. So that'd be number one. Number two, I would say, is sleep. And I feel like probably for a lot of you leaders out there, this is like one of the first things that you don't prioritize at all. Sleep is what many health professionals say is the number one biggest indicator of overall health and longevity. So
Mhm.
it really is so important. And our sleep is when everything recovers. It's when all of our organs recover, including our detox organs and our brains. So, I mean, we all know if we don't have good sleep, we're not our best self the next day. Our brains are foggy. We're not making the best decisions, whether it comes to our health or it comes to being a leader and decisions that you're making at work. And it also impacts our moods. So it's really hard to be in a good
Yeah.
mood when you're exhausted. And it's really hard to be the compassionate leader that we want to be when we're not well rested. So that's definitely something to make a priority. So I would say that those are two really big things to start paying attention to right away.
Yeah, I mean, those are great because especially like after going through Nicole's program, and yes, I was kidding. It's not as hard as it sounds, and making the shift, is really you feel good after you understand that. Oh, well, this wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Because we're so used to just having the things that the toxic things really that we are used to eating and consuming and putting on our bodies, etc. That just the thought of doing something different can just feel overwhelming, but it really isn't. It's really once you just have to be open to trying it. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to be open to trying things that make me healthier. And so the water, hot water with lemon in the morning, I don't know, it sounds so simple, but it just feels so good. I don't know, like it really just really it does to kind of get your day started and kickstarts your digestion system. And so I have my hot, I have a routine, have my hot water with lemon and my coffee, right behind that, and then I may do um, some toast, which tell me the bread is Ezekiel.
Yes, Ezekiel
Yes,
bread.
yes. So it's like a flourless bread, right?
It has wheat in it, but it's all sprouted grains.
Okay.
So it's all like unrefined and sprouted grains. So it doesn't just have whole wheat in it, but it also has all different kinds of grains that are super, like, have tons of nutrients in them. It's really nutrient dense. It keeps you full, lots of fiber. So
Hmm.
it's a great bread. And it tastes delicious. That's the thing. Is like
Yes.
when you get
Yeah.
like random bread that has
Hmm.
nothing nutritious in it and just spikes your
Right.
blood sugar, this actually tastes better, I think.
Yes, yes. So doing some of those things that I learned through the program have really just made a big difference in like how I feel, and I feel better about my choices, and I feel more educated. So I really thank you for just setting me on a course that I don't feel like I'm being eating junky. And what you say about sleep is really true. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm inconsistent in that respect. But I can say when I get sleep and the next morning, I can feel the difference. It's just like why do I not do this all the time?
Yeah.
But I guess you are, again, that's another thing to be more intentional about I used to tease my sister-in-law because I mean, like clockwork, if you don't get to her by 9 o'clock at night, then she's in a bed sleep. So it's like, if I have anything to say that comes up in the evening, if I see that it's like, 8:59, 8:58, then I'm like, all right, I have to make a note, call her in the morning. But she is up like at 5:30, and ready to go.
Yeah,
So, I try to I'm trying to take a page out of her book, and what you said, which is, sleep is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves so that our body can recover,
yeah,
just from all the activity that we had during the day. And that's really important for leaders. Recovery, I think, is like a really big thing that they can do to, be better in the game the next day. So,
totally,
thank you
totally.
so much for that. So, can you tell us how you put more kindness in the world?
Ooh, this is a good question. So I'm probably gonna mess up this phrase, but it's like you catch more bees with honey. I don't know how it ends, but it's basically kind of the mentality that if you come at things like life, relationships, all of those things from a place of fun, happiness, like lightheartedness, warmth, everything's going to work out better than coming at it from really any other angle.
Hmm.
So I feel like that is kind of how I approach really everything, is trying to come at it from a place of fun. Like it's always better when you're laughing and lighthearted. It kind of just draws people in, makes people feel more seen and
Hmm.
welcome. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this whole like detox and health topic, because obviously it can feel like a really serious topic and kind of almost like alienate people from wanting to learn more about it. So that's kind of my whole mission with the detox diaries, is to keep it fun and light so that it's approachable and people can learn different things about their health, but also come at it from kind of like a fun angle. And something else that I'm still working on and I'm really trying to help my clients to work on also is to be kinder to ourselves. When you think about the things that are on repeat in your head, they're so rude. Like you
Yeah.
would never say them to anyone, even your worst enemy. You probably wouldn't say the things that you say to yourself on a regular basis. And I'm guilty of it too. But the more awareness that we can build around that, and the more we can start to speak to ourselves more nicely, the way we would
Yes.
talk to a friend, it's just going to make us feel better, feel more confident, and in turn bring more kindness into the world. So I
That's
think that's really
beautiful.
important.
I agree. I agree. So, can you tell us what you're up to? What you have coming up? Any other programs?
Of course. So I am offering one on one coaching. So basically, what we do there is we help to work you towards your health goals. It's not just about like educating you on all of these things that we've been talking about today,
Mhm.
but also a big part of it is tough for us to talk about what's really been holding you back in the past, what kind of mentality has been holding you back in the past, and really just help you to move forward and make those changes that are going to help you reach those goals. So that's really the mission of those one-on-one sessions.
Mhm.
And I also offer a free consultation. So if you're curious and you just want to get more information and see what it's like, then that consultation is for you. I also have a monthly membership program called Dish with the Detox Diaries.
Mhm.
So this is perfect if you just kind of want to like dip your toes into this world of detoxing. It's $15 a month and we touch on a specific topic of detox. We have a call at the beginning of the month, and then each week I give you actionable steps so that you can implement detox into your life in that specific area. And we'll cover everything from some weeks will be about beauty stuff, some weeks food, some weeks home. It's kind of little
Mhm.
bits here and there to just get you started. Currently, I'm running the Balance Bay Detox
Mhm.
program. That is what Carolyn is in currently. And previously, what Carolyn was talking about was my Slay the Holidays program. I will be running a Slay the Summer program that will be launching in like May, most likely. So you guys can look out for that.
Awesome. All right. So tell everyone how they can reach you. like if they want to work with you or be on your mailing list to get more information about the upcoming programs?
Of course. So my website is thedetoxdiaries.com. So on there, you can sign up for the newsletter to make sure you get all the most current info. You can also check out, there's information on all of my programs there. That's where you can sign up for a free consultation. I also have a podcast called the Detox Diaries podcast, so you can check that out. And I have Instagram, it's the.detox.diaries. You can feel free to DM me there with any questions. And Facebook is the Detox Diaries.
Awesome. So thank you so very much for being here today. You know, I think that anyone listening should at least check out Nicole's website. And like she said, you know, if you want to kind of dip your toe into what all this is about, then I think it's worth, you know, connecting with her to understand like how you can make some subtle changes in your diet or in the products that you use, especially like household products too. You know, I think those are a big thing because, you know, I grew up with if you don't smell the bleach, then it's not clean.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
know, I know.
Hope
So
he
I'm
gets
sure.
home in a couple weeks, and we'll talk all about that.
Oh my gosh, I almost made Nicole faint. So, well, Nicole, again, thank you so much for being here, and you know, and for all the great nuggets that you have given us.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yes. So until next time, be better today than yesterday. Be better tomorrow than today. Bye for now.